CSX Rock Talk. Hi, Screamin. How are you?
Hi, Jim. What's up?
You are, baby. Okay. We were doing a lot of these conversations that start in the hallway, and then we wind up carrying it over to this. This feels like one of those.
Yes, it does.
Best live concert, best concert experience you've ever seen. Are we going just like the performance, the whole thing, the vibe, all that?
Kind of a combination of everything. The venue itself, the people you were with, overall experience. Could be any. Or it could
Okay.
just be one artist that you's like, oh my God, I can't believe I've seen this show.
Well, what if it's a concert that you were at, but maybe you don't remember as much of it as you probably should?
There's quite a many of those.
The best one, and it wasn't me, but there's a story I've always wondered about. It was Skinner's final show. I think it was the third time they told everybody it was their final show. There's been what, 10 of them. So we're at Pine Knob. If you've ever been to Pine Knob, which you've only been there 100 times, Scott, I had a big old pickup truck I used to drive all the time, and sometimes they'd make me park up by the VIP section by the ski lift, that back area, because they'd look at my truck and go, "You're gonna take up 2 spots, asshole. Go up there." And they kick me up, so I'd park. So we're getting out. I remember it was ZZ Top and Leonard Skinner, and Skinner was the headliner, and ZZ Top was first. So we get there, and we're like, "Let's go in. We're gonna go watch him." There's a guy. He's drunk. He's sitting on the tailgate of his pickup truck, all by himself, and he's just rocking back and forth. And I walk by, I go, "You all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, my friends went in, man. I'll be all right." And he's just rocking. So we decide to do a little halftime show. So we go back out to my truck right after ZZ Top.
Mm-hmm.
He's still there. And he's still rocking back and forth like a weather vane on somebody's front lawn. And he's just like, and I go, "Where are your friends?" He says, "They left me." I'm like, "How long you been here?" He's like, "I don't know." And he's rocking back and forth on the truck. So now it's like 11 o'clock, right? Show ends. It's great. We're walking out. We're having a blast. Everybody's had a great time. This is not a lie. Dude was still there rocking on the tailgate of the truck. He'd been there for 3 hours. I've always wanted to know, who was this guy? And your friends suck that they say, went, "You know what, Bob? We're so fed up with your crap. We're going in. Come in when you sober up." He never sobered up. And there were empties. There were murder victims in the tailgate. So he had pounded a bunch of Coors, or I think it was either that, or I think it was Mick Light actually, or something. But this dude for 3 hours was hammered in the parking lot at Pine. They left me. 3 hours.
Would he have been able to hear the music still?
As much as you can in the parking lot, but just the fact that his friends are like, "Not only am I done with you, but I'm going to leave your ass here for 3 hours." I'm like, I'm out. I'm just not dealing with his shit right now.
He comes from 1981 at, I believe it was Kobo. It was Rush. They were on the Moving Pictures tour. Well, I had worked at a camera store called Pepper's Card Camera Shop with one of my best friends, Dave. And he got me a Minolta XG1 with an 80 to 200 zoom lens. This thing was awesome. I was going to take some great photos, but it's like, how do you sneak something like that in? So I did like any teen would do. I gave it the old shove, right?
Porn star?
Exactly. The guy went to do the metal detector, and he gets there, and he just looks down, and he goes, "Really? Really?" I go, "Camera, go ahead, go ahead." Got in there, took some fantastic shots, but we were like in the first 10 rows, and it was such an amazing concert. But the whole crowd was so crushed together, and we're doing like this, just like your friend. I had this big gentleman in front of me. I was taking some good pictures. Well, everybody lunged forward and got pushed. He thought I had pushed him. So here I am with the camera lens, and I'm going like this. And he goes,
No,
"Oh,
no, you got
oh."
clocked.
I got clocked, and I couldn't see anything. And I just grabbed my camera. And next thing I know, I had the ushers and everything because I was like pulling me off. And that's the last I remember the concert. But boy, when I get the film developed, it's like, holy cow, I take some great shots.
Have you seen, by the way, you just reminded me of this, it's a bit of a tangent, but not really. I don't know who's doing this. They'll give musicians and celebrities a box camera and they'll go,
Mhm.
"Just take pictures and send it back to me." So Jelly Roll did it, and they gave it to him. He said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And Jelly Roll took this and had these hilarious photos of backstage. You know, like you used to put box cameras out at
Yeah,
weddings? So
yeah,
they're doing this for the artists, and I really want to do this. And it's weird that you mentioned this camera thing because I sent an email to Alice Cooper's management, and he's not against it. So, because I know they're doing a tour with Priest to get backstage photos of Alice Cooper and Judas Priest hanging out together.
yeah. And we'll be hanging out together October 2nd.
Right. Look at you, Rocktober 2nd. Come on, man.
October,
Rocktober. What the hell are you talking about? But anyway, no, but
October.
I love those photos. The other concert, and I know you thought I'd say Seeger, right? Come on, be honest.
That's what I figured.
There is one that comes to mind. But I kind of focus on Pine Knob as far as the venue for me seeing shows. I was thinking about this, Scott, because other shows that come to mind are the last time the Eagles with Glenn Fry played here in Detroit at Joe Louis Arena. We were there. We knew that that Glenn had been sick, but nobody, I don't think, really understood the severity of what he was going through with all the stomach issues that he had going on. And if you don't understand, you need to look it up and understand what a badass Glenn Fry was, because that was a 2.5 hour show, and he was up there standing up the whole time, just working his ass off. And I can't imagine the kind of pain he was in, but he wouldn't quit. Nobody knew. And then when he passed away, it wasn't like what, 6 months later or whatever. But I was thinking about this. So do you remember when Sting went out and did Symphonicity, where they did Synchronicity, but he did it with an orchestra, right? So we get tickets, and my friends Ron and Rita, and we go, and we're sitting, if you're at Pine Knob stage left, like almost all the way towards the bathroom. And it wasn't full. It wasn't sold out. It was a good crowd, but it wasn't packed. Because I think nobody really knew what the hell it was going to be. We kind of thought it was going to be one of these tribute things. Sting would come out and he'd do this. I remember, because as a side note, do you remember the Pete Seeger tour that Bruce Springsteen did? And how many people went to that show going, "What are we doing?" And they're like, "Born to Run," like, "Not tonight." "Thunder Road," "Not tonight." What the hell? So we go with like no expectations at all, none. We go and we're like, it's just a nice night of Pine Knob. I'm gonna have a couple drinks, hang out with my friends, and enjoy this and listen to a symphony. It was musically the greatest freaking concert I've ever heard. We were just like the way they and I guess it was like the Melbourne Orchestra or Symphony. It was a big heavy hitting band. It was beautiful. And just the vibe at Pine Knob, it was one of those nights when it was like 65, 70 degrees and you're just chilling, sitting there drinking a beer with your friends. And I don't think any of us said a word for like the last hour and a half of the show. Right? You're just sitting there going, "This is so good." And we left there and we went out and got a beer afterwards and we sat at, I think, at Hamlin Pub, and we're going, "What was that?" And I'm telling you, you can listen to it. And this is something else and I'm kind of going on tangents here, but you can listen to live music and you can love live music, but you have to be there for the experience. I mean, I have all of Chit's albums, but to see you guys live is a totally different experience. See, I tied you.
That summer.
Anyway, that's the one that I still think about, and it was one of those unexpected moments. You?
One that I cherish is back in the 70s, you would look through your local paper for the Pine Knob schedule, and they have the ticket order and everything there, and they had series. You could either choose concert series A, B, C, D, or E.
I remember those. Yep.
When he might send you the tickets. Well, my father had gotten season tickets for so many years, and here it was 1975, and he quickly picks and sends it in, and he tells me, he's like, "We're going to see a show," and he wouldn't tell me what it was. And I'm like, "Wow, what can you see?" It's like Chicago was playing, Doobie Brothers were playing, Santana was playing around there. Get get to Pine Knob and seeing, glance over a program. This is Frank Sinatra, and I go, "You're taking me to a Frank Sinatra concert?" And like, never in a million years as a kid going to see Frank Sinatra, and boy, he was fantastic.
See, I'm that now. I'm like, that's badass. At the time, I would have been like, What are we doing, pops?"
Again, it was so good. He finished off with New York, New York, and it's like, "Pops, don't get up," because my father always had the thing. Hey, it's the 2 minute warning at hockey games at Olympia. It's like, let's get to the car before the crowd.
Right.
And leave. And I'm telling you, it was like waiting for an encore. And he turns to me and goes, "Frank doesn't do
Frank Sinatra doesn't. Yeah, that's the old Ted Williams thing.
amazing."
Frank Sinatra. You know the old Ted Williams reference. There's a Ted Williams last at bat in Fenway for the Red Sox. He hit a home run, and I don't remember the name of the writer, but I do remember. David Halberstam wrote a book called Summer '49 all about it. Anyway, they're sitting there and they're waiting, and one of the guys goes to his kid goes to him and goes, "Is he going to come out and tip his hat to the crowd? Is he going to wave at us?" And he said, "Gods don't tip their hat." And that was it. And Ted Williams never came back out. That's like you're talking about Sinatra. The fact that you saw Sinatra at Pine Knob, that blows my mind. That blows my mind.
Another quick one with Pine Knob is we went to Elton John when I was in high school. He gets done with the show, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, but we're still cheering, hoping for a second or third encore. All of a sudden, a helicopter takes off from the back, and he goes and he hovers right above the lawn. I mean, really close. It's like, wow, that. And it goes, I thought, what a cool exit. That was awesome.
We used to always laugh like when we would the last tour we went out with Seeger, and I was fortunate enough to travel with the band and kind of be, go to 3 or 4 of the concerts. Bob, if people didn't know this, like when his kids were in school here, he would leave. That he never did back-to-back nights, so he could fly home after the show to be home the next morning, so he could see his kids off to school. So when the end of the concert would come, like we're in Dallas and it was the night of the show, and it was hilarious because I know there's going to be a black Suburban at the back and they're playing Rock and Roll Never Forgets, and they kind of do this, and everyone's like, Bob Seger, and he's like, hey, thank you guys, love you guys, Dallas, see you soon. You see the Suburban gone. He's to the airport, flying to Oakland International Airport. People are still chanting Bob. I'm like, that dude is in the air on his way to Michigan, but gone, just gone. Like, and that's the quickest I've ever seen Bob Seger move. After the show, once he's done that, he's like, hey, Jim, good to see you. I'm going here.
And you're out of here.
I'm out of here. Good night, everybody. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention going to see Eddie Money at Pine Knob again. We talk about Pine Knob a lot, and there's other, venues here in Detroit. There's so many amazing ones. But going to Pine Knob, and I remember there was a time when we used to go get lawn seats from Subway. Remember, they'd have like,
Portable too.
right, if you bought a foot long, they'd give you 2 tickets on the lawn for Eddie Money. And you'd go to the show, and the lawn was packed. And maybe there's a half house in the pavilion. Now, there were times that it would sell out, but there was one year my friend Bill Meston and I go, and it was one of those nights where when people go see the Money Man, we're all in a good mood. It's the beginning of the season, everyone's happy. It's it was his biggest concert, so that's why he kept doing it. Another, not being morbid, but I hope everyone understands that how sick Eddie was when he came here and did his last show. And Lori's talked about it. We've talked with Lori about it, that he was not going to miss this show. He was going backstage and getting oxygen during the show. Right. Just so he was not going to miss this concert. But anyway, Scott, so we get tickets, and now we're on the other side of the pavilion. So stage right. And we're about, me and my buddy Bill Mesta. 2 things that was so funny about the show. Number one, there was a guy in front of us who was he had a Hungry Howie's, right? And he's just standing there with his little pizza. And you get the little box, right? And he's with his wife, and his wife is a woo girl. She's woo, 2 tickets to paradise at it, woo. He doesn't make a facial expression the whole concert. He just stands there holding his pizza. And occasionally he'd open it and take a small bite, and then he would close it. And then he would, and the whole concert, I'm like, is he on acid? What's going on here? We're watching him, and his wife is wild. And then next to him, Bill sees a friend of theirs, and he's talking to her, and he's like, oh, you look great. She's like, thanks. You look really great. She goes, yeah, I got a boob job. And you're like, okay, not really a conversation thing, but what are you going to do? And she says, yeah, I got a boob job. Bill's like, you look great. And, they look great. You look great. And when we were being very complimentary, she goes, you want to see it? She just pulls her top up. So we got a guy staring straight ahead, eating his pizza. And then we got a woman right next to him that he doesn't know. She's got her top up, showing us her bra and what her husband had bought her. Meanwhile, Eddie Money's just playing Walk on Water or whatever the hell it was. And it was just one of those weird moments. And you're like, huh, okay. This is quite the Eddie Money concert.
Beach Boy concert. I remember them having marshmallow fights on the lawn, but with all the Beach Boy fans, they had a key song. Either it was Surfing USA or something. Whenever you heard a certain song, everyone was throwing marshmallows, and it was just.
What?
Another thing is to remember people when they would let you bring stuff in to Pine Knob. We had gotten one of those Oli kicks, a keg of
Yeah, the oldie
Olympia.
bowling balls? Oldie bowling balls, what we called them, yep.
I still my only fault, the concerts that we went to. It's in the Screamin' Garage, but I could just imagine the stuff we were able to bring into a
Yeah.
concert. I mean, they would go sleeping bags, coolers full of beer, snacks, and everything. And wow, those are some good days.
We are very fortunate here in Detroit. I wish somebody was asking me, like, is there a concert? You know, the whole thing, if you could go to a concert, would it be Woodstock? Just to go to the Grandy once, to have been there, just to be in the Grandy, to understand. I mean, we understand it, we know it, but we don't. If you weren't there, I don't think there's any way. And anytime I talk to Joe Walsh, or you interview Joe Walsh, we talk to anyone who played there, they all act the same way. They go, wow, it was wild, man. It was wild. Just to have gone to a show at the Grandy would have been amazing to me.
I've been at St. Andrew's Hall. It's always a unique one.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine seeing Nirvana. Nirvana started out there. They played Blind Pig in Ann Arbor. They played 2 or 3 shows at St. Andrews. Can you imagine seeing Nirvana in an atmosphere?
See, now mine isn't classic rock related, but it's music. We went to see Rascal Flatts, the country band, at the Palace of Auburn Hills. For those of you who don't know, there used to be a venue in Auburn Hills right off the freeway. Big place. They didn't surround with any hotels. They didn't develop up and then tore it down, and they moved them downtown. Anyway, at the Palace, we go see Rascal Flatts, my wife and I, country band. They had this young lady come out. She had blonde, kind of frizzy hair, and it was just her and like 3 other people. And the opening acts, the country, everybody's got it all staged. So the opening act, you don't move anything. You go out there and play. You put a little rug down. It was Taylor Swift. Yeah, and at the time we're like, well, she's fun. And then and a couple of years later, I'm like, do we? Was she? Was that? Yeah, it was Taylor Swift. We saw her when. Yeah.
You went to that you didn't think you would like it, but turned out it was really, really good.
Well, that's the police one. The Synchronicity one was pretty good, and you got me thinking about that now. I I'm pretty open minded to this stuff. Like, when I go to see a concert, I'm always kind of I'm in the moment, trying to just see what they're about. Um, okay, I'll tell you one. I had a bad experience seeing the Cars when I was in high school.
Me too, panoramic tour.
We saw Heartbeat City and they sucked. It was the worst live concert, right? And Rick Ocasek was doing a solo tour, and I went just because it was something to do. And he was so good. And then you're thinking, well, what was wrong with the band? Because you're freaking amazing solo, and the concert with the Cars was brutal.
Hmm.
That's one.
I had a friend who used to do sound at the Ritz in Roseville, and he bugged me forever. He says, "You got to go see this act. It's just unbelievable." I'm like, "Why would I want to go see this guy?" He goes, "He's got a large band, and he's just phenomenal." So he bought the tickets. He said, "I'm taking." I went to Meadowbrook to see Lyle Lovett and his large band. It was, and then he brought out this singer,
Yeah.
sing with him, and the song was called "Fat Babies Have No Pride." The singer was Julia Roberts.
Because he was married to her, right? Oh my God.
Just before he was married, he got married just after that concert, and I was just like, "Holy cow, Julia Roberts can sing!"
All right. You saw Julia Roberts sing at Meadowbrook. That's a walk-off moment, Scott. We're not going to go on anything else we say after this is just we're going to right down.
Well, thank you,
Wow.
everybody.
That's a walk-off, dude. All right, guys. We'll do more rock talk here. And don't you have to get on the air or do something?
Yeah, it happens.